Recently, it's felt a little strange to try and explain who God is to me and where I am in my walk with Him. Talking about all of that was pretty simple 6 years ago, during my first year as a Christian. He was my best friend, he'd saved my life, and he was wilder than my imagination. He wasn't safe, but he was definitely good. I guess it was just easier for me to have complete trust in someone I couldn't see back then by virtue of being very young and very inexperienced. Even with some of the struggles I remember having in middle school, I was never really at a loss for words when people asked me about Jesus or my faith. Into my first year of high school, a couple of kids that I knew passed away very suddenly. Their deaths affected both the people at my school and the people here in church. Everyone was upset, and a lot of people were heartbroken, including me. I think having to deal with two losses at the same time caused something inside of me to break, because from that point on, I dealt with my own emotions mainly on my own. I isolated myself from many of the relationships I'd already established, both strong and fragile. This included my relationship with God. Instead of leaning on Him like I had as a kid, I distanced myself from Him because for the first time in my life, I was really angry at Him. However, no matter how much you think you've given up on God, He never gives up on you. Sometime in August, as my personal depression and confusion began to die down, I decided that making that distance was a mistake, and I recommitted myself to Him. The thing I didn't realize in that time was that He's never really gone. At the time when you think He's deserted you and you think you can desert Him, He's actually the most present He's ever been. C.S. Lewis once said, "God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks to us in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is His megaphone to rouse a deaf world." I wholeheartedly agree with this looking back. It's just that I never really knew where He was yelling at me till I looked back. I also never saw till recently that God was carrying me through it all the whole time. He was carrying everyone. I had just been too angry and self-reliant to see it. So at this point in my life, I've just been trying to get to know God all over again. Sometimes we need to start over. I've been finding that it's both amazing and frustrating at times. I'm not the same open-hearted kid I was when I first got to know Jesus. I've grown stubborn, and I'm still very self-reliant at times. At the same time, as I relearn things about Jesus, I'm able to understand them on a deeper level, just by virtue of having grown up in some ways. The things I learn and relearn make the experience more than worthwhile. I'm still in the process of relearning. Even now, I'll never be sure of anything, but right now there isn't much I'm sure of as it is. Still, there's one thing that I can be very sure of. God is someone I can trust to always be there. And the best part is, no consequence, sin, emotion, shortcoming, or anything can separate us from Him.